Alright, the x-intercept is the x-coordinate of the point where the graph of a line crosses the x-axis. So it's where the line crosses the x-axis. The y-intercept is where the y-coordinate of the point where the graph of a line crosses the y-axis. So it's where the line crosses the y-axis. Slope-intercept form is a linear equation written in the form y equals mx plus b, where m represents the slope and b represents the y-intercept. So, find the x-intercept and y-intercept of the line 4x minus 3y equals 12. Use the intercepts to graph the equation. Okay, when we are finding the x-intercept, our y is going to be 0. When we are finding the y-intercept, our x is going to be 0. Okay, so the opposite of what we are finding is 0. So now we're going to evaluate each equation, finding our x in the first, finding our y in the second. So it says y equals 0, so where I see my y, I'm going to put in a 0. That cancels that term because anything times 0 is 0, which leaves me with 4x equals 12. Then I divide each side by the coefficient to get the x by itself, and x equals 3. Find the y-intercept, so my x equals 0 now. So wherever I see is x, I'm going to put in a 0. That cancels that term because anything times 0 is in fact 0. And that leaves me with negative 3y equals 12. Now I need to divide by the coefficient of negative 3 to get my y by itself. 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4 because there is one negative. So the x-intercept is 3, 0, and my y-intercept is 0, negative 4. Okay? The graph of 4x minus 3y equals 12 is the line that crosses the x-axis at the point 3, 0, and the y-axis at the point 0, negative 4. And I just got those from here and here. So, all we have to do now to graph this line is graph 3, 0, make it look like it's on a 3, and 0, negative 4, and we connect those dots and put a line at each end to indicate that it goes on forever in both directions. Write each equation in slope-intercept form and then find the slope and y-intercept. Slope-intercept form means we want it in the form of y equals mx plus b, which means we are going to solve for y. Okay? So on A, to solve for y, we need to move the term 2x to the other side. 2x is being added, so we're going to subtract 2x from both sides. And when we do that, our 2x's cancel, our y comes down, and our 3 comes down, and then we have minus 2x. Now we're going to rewrite that to actually match the slope-intercept form. Because in slope-intercept form, our x term comes first and our constant comes second. So we're going to write negative 2x plus 3 so that the equation is in slope-intercept form, which is that. Okay, so if we were to put look at this as y equals mx plus b, our m value is the coefficient of the x, which is negative 2, and our b is our constant. The m tells you the slope, the b tells you the y-intercept. So the slope of the line is negative 2, and the y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis, is 3. So because it has a slope of negative 2, you know that line is going to be running negative. And it's going to go through 0, 3, because the y-intercept is 3, and when you have a y-intercept, the x is 0. A video club charges $8 to join and $1.25 for each DVD that is rented. The linear equation y equals 1.25x plus 8 represents the amount of money y spent after renting x DVDs, meaning that 8 you have to pay no matter what if you want to join the club. Okay, your monthly bill is going to be that $8 plus the $1.25 per however many DVDs you rented. Graph the equation and explain the meaning of the slope and y-intercept. So the equation is already in y-intercept form because it's already written in the form of y equals mx plus b. Okay? So we want to find the slope and y-intercept. Now remember, the slope is the coefficient of the x, so it's 1.25, and the y-intercept is the constant, so that is 8. So the slope of the line is 1.25. I like how they have us repeat stuff a million times. And the y-intercept is 8. The line crosses the y-axis at 0, 8, because the y-intercept, the x is 0 when the y is a number, and moves up 1.25 units for every 1 unit it moves right. Because it's a positive slope, it always goes up. And it always moves right when we run. The y-intercept represents the charge for joining, because you have to pay the $8 for joining. And the slope represents the charge for each DVD. Okay? Write the equation of the line that passes through 3, -4, and -1, 4 in slope-intercept form. The first thing we have to do with this is we have to find the slope. So we're going to use our equation y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we're going to label our coordinates x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay? So our y2 is 4 minus our y1, which is -4. Our x2 is -1 minus our x1, which is 3. Now we're going to add our numerators. These change to positives, so we get 8 over -1 minus 3 is -4. 8 divided by -4 is -2. So the slope is -2. Now we need to choose either point, either our x1, y1, or our x2, y2, and substitute it along with the slope into the slope-intercept form. So we're going to take y equals mx plus b. We know our slope, or our m, equals 2. And then we're going to choose either 3, -4, or -1, 4. It doesn't matter which one you choose. Let's just the -1, 4, because that's what they use in this example, and I don't want you to get confused. So we're going to use -1, 4, and this is our x, and this is our y. So in for y, we're going to put 4. In for m, we're going to put 2. And in for x, we're going to put -1. And we're going to put that -1 in parentheses because we're multiplying m and x. So we're going to bring down our 4. 2 times -1 is -2 plus b. And now we have to solve for b, so we have to move this constant to the other side. The opposite, sorry, this should be -2 times -1, so it should be positive right there. So, make sure you have a negative here too. We're going to move our positive 2 to the other side. The opposite of positive 2, or adding 2, is subtracting 2. So these cancel. 4 minus 2 is 2. So we're going to write the equation using -2 for m and +2 for b. So y equals -2m plus 2. So that line would have a y-intercept of 2, and that m needs to be an x, and a slope of -2. So if you were to graph it, it would look like this, and it would go through 2 on the y-axis and then have a negative slope of 2 over 1. Find the x-intercept and y-intercept of the line 8x minus 6y equals 24 and use the intercepts to graph the equation. That is like example number 1.